We're back, and we are going to work on the second part of our section 4, and we're going to start with the Advent mug. We're on page 83. You have your mug fabric. Hold on, let me get the fabric for you. I've had everything over here for us, but it didn't. Alright, the first thing that we have is our mug fabric. It's a 4x4 piece of fabric that we cut out. No backing on it, just plain piece of fabric. And that's for the cup of the mug. Then we have our whipped topping fabric, which is it's white with little dots on it. I don't know if you can see that. You need a 2.5 by 3.5 inch piece, and that's going to go right up here on top of our mug. Then we need our white felt. You need 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 6.5. One will go on the top and one will go on the back. And then we have our flexi foam base, which is 4.5 by 6.5. And then we'll have cotton swabs. So the first thing we have to do is to hoop our wash away stabilizer. So since this is going to be a freestanding piece that we keep in our little bag until we're ready to put it on, we will use the wash away stabilizer. I'm using the clear kind. There's also a mesh kind that you can use that will also wash away. This is not the topper. This is the wash away stabilizer. It's a little bit thicker and heavier. So I've got it hooked in my project. In my 5x7 hoop, ready for my project. Now let's go over to the machine and load our embroidery files. And I believe, let's see, I think we're on. Yes. These will be our Advent embellishments, I think. And we're looking for this one down here. The cup. I'll push set. And embroidery, because we don't need to do anything else to it. Okay, so the first thing we do, put our hoop in, and I did not change my thread, although we could use the green that I have already on there. It doesn't really matter because that part is going to be cut off. And we were going to stitch our outline. I don't know if you can see through this, but the outline of where we're going to put our flexi foam. So let's put our now we're going to take our piece of flexi foam. We're going to place it in here, making sure that it's covering everything. Make sure I've got up at the top. And you can tape it in, which I think we will do, just in case I can't hold it correctly. And I don't know that it matters put it at the top or bottom. I think I'm going to put it at the top because I can kind of put my fingers on the bottom and hold it steady. Check again that I've got all my edges covered up. Okay, and we're going to stitch around this. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is to trim close to the stitches, but not over the stitches. And then when we trim, we'll go back and I'll be back. We'll go back and do another outline for our felt when we get this trimmed. So I will be right back after I get it trimmed. All right, I got mine all trimmed up. Be careful not to cut too close. As you can see right here, I kind of got my stitches just a little bit. It won't hurt because it'll all be stitched down, but watch trimming on your stitches. Next thing we're going to stitch is the advent base placement line, which will go around the outside edge of this, and that's where our felt will be cut to. I'm going to do that real quick. And now I'm going to put my felt on, one piece of my felt on top, and we're going to cover these lines that we've just stitched down. And I cut my felt a little bit short, so be sure that you cover exactly. And I'm wondering if I need to go back and cut another piece. Maybe not. Maybe it will be work. It'll work. Let me see if I've got it up here. And down here, and I know we're good on side to side. Alright, let's stitch that placement line. Now when we get through stitching this, we are not going to trim it. We're going to well, let's stitch this one, but we're not going to trim it after we get through stitching it. We got a little close, but it's okay. It'll work, I think. Alright, it says do not trim, so we're going to take off our tape. And I did stitch over this, but the tape comes right off, even if you stitch over it. Get that little piece in there. Tape does pull a little on your felt, so try not to put it on a part that will show. Now we stitch the mug placement line, and we're going to do that in brown because our mug fabric is brown. So I'm going to change my thread. I'm going to do my placement line and I'll be right back. Okay, I've stitched my mug placement line. Now I'm going to put my fabric on right side up for the cup, making sure I've got all my areas covered. And then we're going to stitch this tack down line, and then we're going to trim around the mug, just around the mug fabric on the top, not the felt on the bottom. So let me get that done and I will be right back. Okay, if you're following along, this is where we stitch on number 5, stitch the mug placement line, then we put our mug fabric right side up, and then we stitched our mug tack down line, and we trimmed close to the stitch line. And these are the steps that we're doing that. I was going to show you right here on this, let me see if I can get it where you can see it. On the corner of the mug, or the handle of the mug, ease your tips of your embroidery trimming scissors. You don't want to cut the felt behind it. You just want to pick up just the edge of the fabric, and you just kind of have to work the tip of your the pointy tip of your embroidery scissors under the edge of the fabric, just till you can get a little snip there so that you can get your scissors in, so that you won't cut the felt behind it. So the next thing we're going to do is to do our tack down line for our whip topping. And I think I'm going to change to my white thread. And our whip topping is the little small piece. And it's kind of hard to tell what's right side and wrong side. Okay, if you shine a light over the side of it, you can see the dots printed on the top, and they're not that way on the back. So this will go here, and I'm going to change to white to stitch that down, and then I'll be back after I get it all trimmed up for you. See you in just a little bit. Ready to got it all stitched down, trimmed up, and ready to go on to the next step, which is stitching the mug scallop fill, which is a little green line across. We're going to be changing threads pretty good bit now, so I've changed to my green, and we're going to stitch the little zigzag rickrack looking stuff across the edge of across the cup of the mug. Then we're going to let me show you what we're going to do, and then I'll do it, and then we'll come back. On number 9, we're going to stitch this where we're going to stitch the mug scallop fill, which is right here. Then we're going to change to our white thread, and we're going to do the outline of it. Then we're going to change to our brown thread, and it's going to do the satin stitch that goes all the way around the mug. And then we're going to do our satin outline of our whipped cream up here. And then there's a small little detail that goes right there. Let's do those 9 through 12 steps, and we'll come back and I'll show you the rest. And our mug is coming right along. So we're going to continue Following 13, 14, and 15, it's going to stitch our straw, the straw detailed and the little sprinkle details on the top. Be right back, and then we'll work on the back side of it. Okay, this is our finished front piece. We do have a little bit of jump stitches to trim on our little sprinkle parts, but we can do that when we're finished. So now we're going to turn over to page 84 to finish up the back side of our little Advent mug. So we're going to go to our page. We're going to return and delete that pattern, and then we're going to go to our embroidery files, not those, the Advent embellishments, and we have to put the other of our hook Velcro. I can't say the hook and loop. So we're going to go to this file right here, and we're going to stitch on one of these little dots onto our the back portion of it, of our felt. So on our remaining piece of white felt, I have found the center by just folding and pressing that in. We're going to take our hoop out. Let's go over here so we can turn it over on the back side. A second, I can get this to where you can see what I'm doing. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Here we go. The first thing we're going to do, I have hooked in my 4x4 frame some medium tearaway. So with this file that we've just pulled up, we are going to center one of those circles. Let me see. And on page 84, under the second part of 15, we're going to take, well, it doesn't tell you there, it tells you on another page how to put these on, and I'll go back. It's at the beginning of all the Advent stuff. It is on page 70. It tells you how to do the Advent hook and loop tapes. You can do them all at one time. I'm not doing that. I'm just doing them one at a time. So it tells me under the Advent mug on this page, on page 70, to fold it into quarters like I've done. To find the center, you unfold the center and place the center over circle 2, which is in the grid. There's 3, well, actually there's 5 of them in the embroidery file, and number 2 is the one in the top right corner. And we're going to place this center over where that is. So I'm going to stitch on this tearaway the circle 2, and I'm just going to scroll through my you put the small frame on there. I am going to, I guess, go ahead and do all of these. I thought I had done it before, but I don't know what I've done with it in the meantime. So I'm just going to stitch all the tack down lines for all the circles on here. Okay. It's telling me to change to a larger frame. So let me see what I need to do and I'll be right back. Okay, I switched to a bigger frame, to a 5x7. Thought I could do it in a 4x4, but I wasn't paying attention to my size. So we're going to go ahead and do the tack down circles. Oh, come on. Well, either I forgot to thread it, which I do. I think I get it there and I think I've got it threaded and I don't push the button to thread. So let's go back to the beginning. And there we go. Hopefully that's going to catch. No. Okay. Okay, I have changed to a bigger hook, to a 5x7. Thought I could get away with 4x4, but apparently I wasn't paying attention to my sizes. So I'm going to stitch the tack down circles on this, and we'll go ahead and do this one and for the bow that we're going to do later. So. And for some reason my thread won't stay threaded. So let me go check on that. And I'll get these stitched out and be right back. Okay, I have stitched all my tack down or placement lines. This is for the bow. It is a 4.5 by 4.5. I stitched the placement line. I stitched put the fabric down, stitched the tack down line, and then put my circle over the center of that. Now I'm going to move that over and I'm going to show you how we do it. So I've got it folded in my quadrant. So I want to put that kind of in the center of that see if I can do this and have you see what I'm doing. Hang on. Because I need two hands to do this. I want the center of that in the center of that circle. I want to put my finger in there and hold that down so that I can get it under here. And that should be the center. So I'm going to stitch my tack down line. You can't see very well since it's white on white. Then I'm going to take the loop side, the rough side of my Velcro, and I'm going to put that in the center of that circle. Press it down because it's got sticky on the back. And then I'm going to stitch the part that holds it all together, the little star. And that puts our Velcro, other part of our Velcro on the back. Now what I'm going to do is just gently tear this off since it's our tearaway, not disturbing any of the rest so that I can go back and finish those. I just want to take that off and that can go on our piece. Let me see. There, you can see how it stitched it down. This goes on the back of our mug. And I'm going to go ahead and tear this one off because this is the two that we're doing right now. And gently tear it off so that we can go ahead and finish. We can cut our felt pieces for the backs of the other things that we're doing and use this same piece. If you want to, you can go ahead and finish them all. You'll just continue to do that. You'll cut your piece the size it's supposed to be. You'll center it or wherever it tells you to put it. Some of them are centered and some are not. And then just put them on the remaining dots or placement lines. You'll find your center or wherever you're supposed to put it, and you'll put it in that dot, stitch it down, put your Velcro on, and stitch that down. And that prepares all of your backings for your embellishments that are going to go on the outside. So now I'm going to take this out for right now, and I'm going to leave it in this hoop so I can go back later and finish the rest of those, and we won't have to do this again. I'm going to delete the rest of that. Go back to our page 84, and we are going to bring back up our not that one, the Advent embellishments. This was our PES, our cup. And we need to stitch our final outline stitch. And we'll do that on the back. So I'm going to go down here. And that will be done on the back of it, and then we will be finished. So I'm leaving my white thread in because I want the back to look white, to be stitched in white. And then I'm going to tape my back piece on the back of my other piece, and you can see through the wash away stabilizer that we have. I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tack or tape this down. I think I'll just do 2 corners because that's all the tape I've got done right now. I think that will hold it. If you feel like you need to put it on the other 2 corners to make sure. Now we want to be sure this Velcro dot is on the outside, on the back side, outside, so that when we finish it will stick on our quilt. Alright, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to come back and we'll talk about trimming it up. Okay, I have done my final stitch. And if you have gone back and forth between doing the little Velcro dots, the final stitch is the very last one. You'll scroll all the way down to the bottom of your embroidery file. Okay, I finished my final stitch. If you went back to the other little dots to put on your Velcro dots, and then you had to come back into this, the way you find that is that you will go to the plus or minus, and you will go all the way through the menu to the very last Oh, I can get there. This will be your very last one. That will be the stitch where you stitch on the backing to the top. And it shows it in a gray thread, if that helps any. You don't stitch it in a gray thread. They're just showing you that so that you'll know where you are. So here I have taken it out of the hoop, and to trim, it says to remove the excess stabilizer. You can do that if you want to. I have just taken scissors, and I am cutting exactly on that outside line, the very outside line, cutting through those stitches. You want those stitches gone, but you want to cut exactly on that line. And I'm using my embroidery scissors, my duckbill scissors. You can trim this with any scissors that you want to use. So when you get through cutting it all out, then you're going to, here in between the layers might be a little bit of the water-soluble stabilizer sticking out. If there is, then you take a Q-tip with the water and you just rub along the edges until that stabilizer disappears. And then you let it dry nice and flat. And then we are done with this one. And this is what the back of with our little Velcro dot on it. So it is so cute. And now we'll move on to doing the bow, and we're going to do the bow pretty much the same as we've done here. So I'm probably not going to be as involved in videoing it like I have this one. Just follow the steps. So let me get that set up and we'll get back to it. Now on to our Advent bow. This is actually for the section 5. Look how cute. Isn't our little cup adorable? The Advent bow, we have the, let me see how big, 4x3. This is for your inner bow and your loops. Then we have our 4x4 on our velveteen. That's in your embellishment kit. We cut a 4.5 by 5 4x4 bow base, which is our flexi foam, and then we have our our prepared one with our Velcro that we just did, and we have the top of the felt that will go on it. So let's go to I have hooked my water-soluble stabilizer. You delete the one we were just doing. Pull up our Advent embellishments, and we're doing the 4x4 bow right here. We've set that. We'll go to embroidery. So the first thing we're going to do, and I've got my white in there, my white thread. The first thing we're going to do is to stitch our outline for our foam. We're going to put our foam down. We're going to stitch the foam down, and then we're going to trim around the foam. So let me get that done and I'll be right back. Okay, I've stitched my foam down. I've trimmed around my foam. I put my piece of felt over the top of it. I did my placement line, put my felt down, and now I have sewn around that. So now we're going to do our placement line for the bow, and this will be for the piece of velvet that will go down first. So we will stitch our placement line for that, and it's done in red, so I need to switch my thread to red, and I'll do my placement line, put down my velvet, stitch it down, and trim my velvet, and then I'll be back. Alright, we have our bow down, our velveteen. Kind of makes a bit of a mess. I wouldn't worry about it until the end, and then we can you can take a rolly brush, sticky brush, whatever you call it, and clean up the felt. So now we're going to stitch our inner bow and back loop placement lines. Then we're going to put our red fabric right side up, which I don't think there's a right or wrong to this side. And then we are going to tack it down and trim close to the stitching line. So let me get all that done, and be right back. Okay, so our next thing to do is to stitch our bow decorative outline, and I'll show you what we have so far. We've got the fabric on the inner bows, so we're going to do all the decorative stitching around it. Then we're going to tape our felt piece on the back and stitch that final stitch, and then we're going to trim it up and we're going to be finished. This was really a quick and easy one to do. So I'll be back when I get all that done and show you the end of it. Okay, here's my bow. The top is finished. Pretty little bow. I've got my back taped on. I didn't quite get my dot in the center, so I've kind of adjusted it so it will land right there in the center of the bow. I'm going to stitch down my final tack, my final thing around. Then I am going to trim it up just like we did the cup, and we will be finished. And the next thing we'll do will be the background pieces, the filler blocks. So see you in a bit. Okay, here we are to our filler blocks for section 4. You can find this on page 61. When we pull out our pieces of our filler blocks, I think all of these can be done in a 5x7 hoop. I may have to change my mind in a few minutes, but I think it is. Now there are 3 little blocks that we see right here, and I have gone ahead and sewn them together. You can either do them separately. I think they should be done, all together, so that's how I'm going to do them. So I've sewn them together with a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to place them in my hoop vertically because we have our 5x7 hoop. I've hooked my stabilizer, and I have brought up my embroidery design, and it calls for the 2x6 horizontal, but remember that this is going to be done, it's going to lie horizontally, so your trees need to stand up that way. There is one that says horizontal, but it is horizontal with the trees standing up this way, and that's not the one we want. We want the one where they lie on their side. Because of the way our hoop is, we're going to have to do it that way. Right, let's do our placement design. Placement for our quilting, our quilt batting. Then I'm going to place this on top, and making sure that it is oriented with the stripe on the left hand side and the pink on the right. And I'm going to place that vertically like this in my hoop, and I'm going to get all of that down. Well, I'll do this one step by step, and then we'll do all the others like we have before, because we haven't done this in a little bit. So let's, and I have my white thread in. think this piece will fit on there. Just barely, but it will fit. Now I'm going to take this and trim out my batting, and then I'm going to lay my background piece or my filler piece on top of this and get all of that sewn down, including the design that goes on it. So I will be back when I get that done. And there's our finished filler block. So when we trim, we're going to trim it exactly on these outside edges. And remember that the fabric doesn't quite come all the way to the outside of there, so as long as you have it where it covers here, because that's where the seam line is. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the blocks, and I will come back and show you when we get finished. Alright, we have our section 4 all stitched together. It's turning out so cute. Our little cup that we did will stick on this Velcro portion. This is our little pocket that we sewed. Don't forget to go back and pull out the basting stitches that are inside there. I haven't done that yet. So the next one up will be section 5, and we'll see you in the next set of videos.